Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. Well, today we're talking about a reaction video that on Nightcap, where Unc and Ocho discuss who's better, Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, and what Ben Roethlisberger, you know, had to say, in his little blasphemous rant about the two. So, without further ado, I'm gonna tell you my piece. Listen, Rodgers was great, but he didn't make the same kind of impact on the league as Patrick Mahomes because he has some great teams too, but he only has one ring, and Mahomes is far surpassed that, and so Mahomes still has a chance to at least rival Brady. He might not get there because they lost head to head. He'll never be able to get that back. However, let's go ahead and see what Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp has to say from Nightcap, and then I'll do my little commentary, such as it is, and we'll see. And you put your comments in the chat and all that kind of stuff when on replay, and let me know what you think. Who do you think is better, Mahomes or Rodgers, and why? So, without further ado, let's go.
Ben Roethlisberger felt compelled to recently weigh in on whether he'd rather have Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes on his team. Well, I would take Aaron in his prime over Patrick now. I think Aaron Rodgers' prime was one of the few to ever do it, and so Patrick is at his prime. Patrick Mahomes is just entering out of his prime, I think. Does Ben realize how utterly ridiculous he sounds?
Yeah, but obviously, he's gonna go with it with someone
a contemporary.
Right, exactly. Someone a little closer to him, despite the success, the early success in the early career that Patrick Mahomes has had. Obviously, Ben knows how great Pat is, but obviously Aaron Rodgers was special despite not being able to have the number of Super Bowls, only having one. But if you look at Aaron Rodgers' numbers in his prime, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Despite him not being able to win the big games consistently like Patrick Mahomes has done.
So I thought that was the objective, because people make it seem like Aaron Rodgers did not have good teams. Go back and look at the receivers that he had. Go back and look at the receivers that he had, and go back and look at. Do you believe the last 3 Super Bowls, Aaron Rodgers could have got that receiving group to the Super Bowl? Consider he could only get to the Super Bowl one time with Jordy Nelson, with Greg Jennings, with Donald Driver, with James Jones, with Jermichael Friendly. So do you believe he could take that group that Patrick Mahomes took?
Mm-hmm. Before we get to that, answer that question, right? The truth of the matter is, and there was a big debate about the NBA when you talk about, is it really just about the rings, or is it about the game and your impact on the game, whether you had the most rings or not? Now we know that the rings argument always puts Jordan on the top, always, right? Because he has the 6 rings and 6 tries, and he didn't have to go past 6 games in any of those championships. So but nobody's going to say that he wasn't during the regular season. Jordan was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, during the regular season as well. But let's just say he didn't win all of those championships. Would that diminish his career? It depends on who was better in championships, I would imagine. So in the end, it sounds like rings always matters, right? We look at Pat Mahomes, and we know that until Brady got the luck of the Tuck Rule game, his career took off after the Tuck Rule game. I mean, it just exploded. Patrick Mahomes, it seems like his career just exploded off rip. Right. But now with Brady, with his 7 rings or some shit like that, we always are going to compare Pat Mahomes to Brady, especially on a head-to-head loss as well. Right. So, when I say, so it's going to be hard. It's just going to be hard to, when I say head-to-head, it wasn't a Super Bowl. It's just head-to-head, period. Right. No, it wasn't a Super Bowl, head-to-head. Right. So, what can you say? So it is about rings for the most part. And as great as Aaron Rodgers was, it's not clear that he could have got to the Super Bowl with the same kind of receiving core that Mahomes did.
Couldn't even get that man couldn't beat Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's not
But
nice.
somehow he gonna get to and he gonna win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, the
MVPs are impressive. Chat, y'all know I've been one of the biggest, one of the loudest Aaron Rodgers fans.
Mm-hmm.
He's phenomenal. He was phenomenal. But to base it on Patrick Mahomes in 21 postseason games is 17-4. 3 Super Bowl wins. Aaron Rodgers in 22 postseason games is 12-10 with 1 Super Bowl win.
Yeah. And
look at the guys that he's lost to.
Right.
Tom Brady beat him twice. Joe Burrow beat him. And now Jalen Hurts beat him. Now go look at the guys that beat Aaron Rodgers in a playoff game. The mere fact the man got beat by Jimmy G. Twice.
Hey, hold on. Jimmy G had a nice squad around him now. He had a nice squad around him, and all Jimmy G had to do, Jimmy, don't mess it up.
I tell you what.
Take the ball. Don't mess it up.
Give Patrick Mahomes that squad.
The game.
Give Patrick. Okay, if I give Patrick Mahomes that squad, what you think? You think Aaron Rodgers beating Patrick? He gonna beat Patrick Mahomes with that squad? Because you say Jimmy G.
Yeah, no. You put.
Yeah, you know what? It sounds good, but it's just hard to do that, right? It's easy to do all that kind of stuff, but it makes for a great debate. It really does, because the truth of the matter is, nobody. I'm gonna go back to basketball for a second. Nobody even mentions the fact that LeBron took NBA teams to 8 straight championship series. I think he only won 2 of those or whatever. Or, you know what? He went to 8 straight championship series. Now, and he didn't win them. I mean, he was batting under 500. But can you imagine? How was the last time anybody went to 8 straight championships? I think he won 3 out of the 8 or some shit like that. Right? I think it's just an incredible feat just to get there. But that actually is used against them, especially if you're going to try to put them head to head against a Michael Jordan, right? And maybe and rightfully so. But it makes for a good debate. You know, Aaron Rodgers, listen, just like what Shannon Sharp says, you're 10-12 or 12-10, and when another guy is, well over 500 in his 24 games, 20-4, some shit like that. I mean, it's just amazing. So he's not a better player than Patrick Mahomes. He's just not, but that doesn't make him less fantastic. So for Roethlisberger to come out to say that now, a lot of people realize Aaron Rodgers just became a Steeler, right? So Ben Roethlisberger might be compelled to give him as much flowers. And if we're going to make a prognostication, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a pretty good season. I think he's going to have a good season. Well, let's just see. We're waiting. It's anticipation, right? But let's go.
You put Mahomes around any team.
Yes.
Mahomes is one of the few quarterbacks, you can put him on any team, and it elevates everyone else around him.
Yes.
Elevates everyone else around him because he's just that good. Not only physically, but he's going to beat you here too.
Yes. I mean, bro, he beat Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler got hurt and got on a stationary bike. He thought he was at a Tour de France, so he didn't want to play football no more. He just wanted to ride the stationary bike. Look, I mean, you beat who you beat to get to the Super Bowl. But this has been Roethlisberger's opinion, but I vehemently disagree with this.
Yeah.
Vehemently. And I think the thing is he's basing it on MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
He's basing it on MVPs. And Aaron Rodgers has 4.
Yeah.
But look at those great seasons that came out to be duds. See, the thing is that, Ocho, can you do, if you got a great offense, can you get done? Can you score a point when you need to? If you're a great defense, can you get a stop when you need to? Can you get off the field on 3rd down? Can you get your offense the ball back? Can you not let them flip the field? You got them backed up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make him stay there and not flip the field? Get the ball to midfield and then punt it and pin you down inside the 5. Can you do that? Aaron Rodgers has 4 regular season MVPs, 1 Super Bowl, a Super Bowl MVP. Patrick Mahomes has 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He's been to 5.
Right.
And you're saying, now let this sink in. The man has already been to more Super Bowls, has more postseason wins, has more MVPs, and he's not even 30.
Yeah. And I think it's more to it than that. Obviously, we don't know what Ben is indicating why he picked Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, yes, we do. He picked Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is on the Steelers. And so he's going to try to say, maybe he's big upping Aaron Rodgers a little bit because Ben Roethlisberger is a Steeler for life, right? His whole career was as a Steeler. I mean, it might have a little bit to do with his bias. I can't say it's the reason. You can't be in the guy's head, but just based on the numbers, right? You know, Shannon Sharp's right. In any metric whatsoever, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't beat Mahomes on a head-to-head, other than the fact that Ben wants to say something to big up him and say maybe at this late stage age he has enough to take the Steelers to something that they haven't been able to do for a long time.
But also, I want people not to forget how special Aaron Rodgers was as well.
This is what Ben said.
And how gifted he was as a quarterback.
Oh, he was as physically gifted at throwing the football.
In general.
He and Dan, I'm talking about just pure throwers of the football. Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino, take your pick. But this is what he said, Ocho.
Yeah.
I think Aaron in his prime was one of the top few to ever do it. And so Patrick at his prime, Patrick Mahomes is just entering out of his prime. So in other words, he's saying Aaron was one of the top to do it, but Patrick isn't. Because what he said? He said, I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime was one of the top to ever do it. So by what his word said, if Patrick Mahomes is coming out of his prime, he wasn't one of the top to ever do it.
Yeah.
That is.
So from 23 to 39, he goes to 5 Super Bowls, wins 3 MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, 2 5,000-yard seasons, and a 50 touchdown season. But he ain't one of the top. Who was not one of the top few to ever do it. Now, Chad, do y'all see how utterly ridiculous that sounds?
Yes, we do. You know, prime to prime, you're still gonna pick Pat Mahomes. Prime to prime. 20 to 29, you're still going to pick Patrick because that's what all the accolades Pat Mahomes have is in his prime. So let's just say that right now Patrick Mahomes is entering the second phase of his prime. That was a so-called downslope going into his 30s. Well, we all know that quarterbacks can play well into their 30s at a top level. So if the NFL hasn't, in terms of team-wise, hasn't caught up to the Kansas City Chiefs because of market cap and salary caps and all that shit, there's no telling the second phase of Patrick Mahomes' career can definitely almost mirror his first phase. Who knows? That's what we're going to look at. But let's just say he's a middling quarterback and he gets 1 or 2 more Super Bowls in the next 5 to 6 to 10 years. Let's just say he plays another 10 years. And he only gets 2 more Super Bowls. Right? That even dwarfs or could be compared to Aaron Rodgers' 1 Super Bowl into his prime. You know what I'm saying? So this, Ben is just shooting some shit from the hip. And I guess he wants to get people talking. And lo and behold, he has some people talking.
Now, I hope we got this right. Let's just make sure we got this right. Double check that. Well, I would take Aaron in his prime over Patrick now. I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime was one of the top few to ever do it. And so is Patrick at his prime. Patrick Mahomes is just entering out of his prime, I think. So you think Patrick Mahomes is out of his prime?
I don't know. But obviously, Ben being a quarterback that played but against Aaron Rodgers, I think that's where he's picking him instead of.
Because I think Ben came in 04 and I think Aaron came in 05. So you see that's kind of like
right.
That's the era. Yeah, I don't know about that one. To each his own.
It's a good conversation piece. Yeah, to each his own. And you know what? Salute to you, Ben Roethlisberger. You got people talking about some shit that's kind of absurd, but you know what? It was worthy of having a conversation. It actually was, you know, because people had to at least think, wait a minute, let me compare numbers. Let me compare ages. Let me compare teams. Let's compare head to head if we could do all of that. And in every metric, no matter how great Aaron Rodgers was and whatever he has left, it ain't better than Patrick Mahomes. It's just not. Anyway, with that, we'll leave that right there. It's worthy to talk about. And you know, let's just go ahead and move on. Hey, thank you, Unc. I like this reaction video. Hopefully, I'll come back and do a few more. All right. Our Pain, Unique Sports Talk, over and out.